Hi there, welcome to this video. In this one I'm going to be talking about the AOS 5.5 version 2 from Chris Roser. It's a really nice frame, but it certainly got its flaws. And so that's what we're going to take a look at today. It's kind of a quick sort of mini review of the frame after I've been flying it for about a year. And what I think about it, and whether or not I think it might be a good frame for certain situations. You can make your own decision of whether it's right for you, but I'll explain what my experience has been. First things first, in terms of a quad for flying, it flies beautifully well. It's 5.5 inch props that are on it. It pulls around a full-size GoPro 10 like there's nothing there. And you really notice the difference when you're flying, especially after a dive or something. If you're trying to catch yourself and grab and just pull up from a dive, the extra prop size makes a really big difference when you're carrying that GoPro. And I really noticed that pretty much immediately when I started flying it. The other thing about it is it flies really well. It's very stable. It's fun to fly. It moves around very nimbly and agilely in the sky. And you can do full-on acrobatics with it if you want. If you want to go hardcore freestyle with it, you could. I wouldn't recommend it, but you sure could. It'll fly and do all that stuff really well. The other thing that I really like about it, and I'm just going to pop off the top here. You can see I've got it sitting down here on the desk. I'm just going to pull the remaining screws out. What I really like about it is how easy it is to build. It has a ton of space. The components go together really well, and when you're finished building it, it looks really good and clean. So just got these last two here. Pull off the top plate. Here I'll take off the top plate. I've got nothing attached to it, and you can see like there's a space for mounting a full stack here, for a full stack in the middle, and for a full-size stack 30 by 30 in each position. Now for me, I fly analog, and so I put a 2-high stack here with the Mamba F722 flight stack and a 40 amp ESC, I think is what's on there. And then I put the VTX at the back, and that still left me with all of this empty room up at the front here for nothing except my beeper, which was really easy to put in there. Now I've got the wires kind of taped up and fine. And so there was a ton of space for putting in all of the components very easily. Now, of course, there's space for putting on TPU mounts and whatever else if you want. They don't come stock with the frame. That's something you'd have to buy yourself separately or print if that's something you do. If you take a look at it, structurally, it's a really solid thing. It comes across with a main base plate through here. Everything mounts on really easily. When you have to replace an arm, and I've got a separate video talking about how easy it is to replace the arms on here, it's simply 2 screws and out they come. So it's a really easy frame to work with, at least I found it to be. This is the one little part on the V2 that I found to be a little fiddly, was just the way the camera mount is attached in here. But all things together, if you're looking for a frame that's comfortable, easy to build, isn't going to challenge you with trying to put a whole pile of electronics into a very small space, then this would be a really good frame for that. However, it is not a durable frame. At least that's been my experience. I have not flown this frame a lot, but I've probably put about 40 packs into it. And in that time, I've broken 2 arms, I've broken 3 top plates, I have broken the underarm, I'm not sure, I guess just a cross brace underneath the frame here at the front 3 separate times, and I've broken the bottom mid plate twice. That's on 40 packs. Now, when I was getting ready to do my sort of spring check over for this to get it ready, what I've also noticed now, right here in the carbon, there is a crack through the bottom plate, and it's a really weird place because I don't have any electronics on the top of it at all. That's the very front of the frame, where all I have is my beeper. And the arm that I broke previously was the right front arm, and that's on the opposite side from that. So I'm not actually sure what's happened right here to cause that to crack, but that's now the bottom plate cracked. So in that little amount of flying, it's taken a lot of damage very, very easily. I'm not a hardcore bando kind of flyer. They don't exist around here. I mostly fly out in fields and through forest because I live out in the prairies and we don't have big bandos and abandoned graveyards to go flying in. Well, we do. We have the graveyards that we fly in here are filled with old farm machinery, which is pretty hard on a quad when you hit a 40-ton tractor at high speed. An abandoned tractor, right? Not one that's driving down the field. But in the course of that, so I've got now several sets of arms that I've had to buy to replace. This is now the third or fourth top plate that I've had to buy, plus all the bottom plates and cross pieces. And I've just reordered a separate bottom plate to replace this on the bottom here. And so I've almost basically bought a brand new frame in the space of 40 packs. So for me, that makes it not durable enough. I crash. That's just kind of how I am. I fly and I crash. I'm not the world's best pilot by a long stretch. And so this isn't really made for somebody like me. It is an excellent frame, right? It is really well built. It flies beautifully well. And so if you're somebody who flies in a more relaxed way, you like to just do cruising around parks and stuff, you don't do heavy freestyle acrobatics, you're not doing sabang or anything like that, then this frame will be just fine for you. But it is fragile. There are a couple other things that I think could be really helpful to improve it, and it wouldn't take much. One of the main sort of design issues that I see with it comes right here in the way the top plate is. So the top plate is designed to fit on here, and it's got a slot, dog bone cut in here for the camera to fit into, which is fine. That's great. And then your GoPro mounts on top. The problem with that is underneath these places where your GoPro mounts, there is no support. And so as a result, when you crash or when you hit anything, what happens is now if you hit the GoPro, it's all getting forced right onto there, all that stress. Or this way, if your battery comes forward or something, all the stress is getting rammed through that central part right here. And all of the top plates that I've broken were right there. All of them. They broke right at that spot. The other problem with this current design, and this would be a really simple thing to fix, and I'm going to have to zoom in, is the way the camera mount is made right, oh, this is hard to focus, right here. You can see that where the camera mount joins in right here, it does not go all the way through the carbon. And so what that means is there is a top layer of carbon right here that you can push on. Right across where the camera mount would go in, because the camera mount is always pushing on that little piece of fiber, you can see it's already delaminated. And there it is, broke it off. So that is something that's a bit of a design problem with it that could be fixed without too much effort, I think, just by choosing to put in a support standoff in there. The other thing I've noticed too was, and I said I broke a lot of them, were these underpiece crossbars here. I'm not sure how important they are for the structural support and keeping things rigid in a twisting sort of way. They probably are, but what I've also noticed is that pretty much every time you land, if it's on anything rough, this just gets snapped. You hit a rock or hit anything on there, I've broken those many, many times. So those are things just to be aware of. Okay. As a quad, like I said before, it flies really, really, really nicely and handles the weight of a full-size like GoPro 10, 9, 11, whichever one you have, or maybe don't have. And it flies really, really well. So as it's built right now, this one right here with battery straps and everything on it, no props or anything, I'm trying to read what it says here. It says 386 grams. So that's a reasonable weight for it. Now it's got a whole bunch of TPU on here that you probably don't need. That would take off a little bit of weight. But you put on another 170 for the GoPro and mount, another 200 or so for, for your LiPo battery, and you're looking at around 600 to 650 grams all up weight, the way I've got it built here. Okay, and I don't have that written down exactly what it is, but it's in that ballpark. Okay, so it's not a super light quad by any stretch, but overall, like I said, it works really, really well. This configuration, I have just the Emax Eco 2306 motors on it, and for a 5.5 inch quad, they're okay. You might want to go with a slightly bigger motor to be able to provide the torque for the slightly larger props at the 5.5 inch size. So this is a frame that I really, really, really want to like and want to keep flying, and that's why I've ordered another bottom plate so I can dismantle this and replace it and fix it up and keep flying it. But I also think that that's going to be the last new part that I order. I've got enough extra arms kicking around and a couple of extra base and one more top plate, so I'll run my way through those, and then I think I'll be retiring this particular frame and working on a new one. So it's not because I dislike the frame. I really, really like it. It's just that it's a little too flimsy for me. But I hope this was a useful review of at least my experiences using it and what I've seen from it. If you choose to buy one, I can't say that that would be a mistake, because this is a really, really nice frame. Just be aware that it is not what you would call a hardcore durable frame. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again the next time around. Until then, take care.